So when you take your operational brain and you think of an idea, in order for it to be the most successful where the company wins, not just the third party marketing agency or social media manager. If you take the idea and you actually go the full circle and maybe you don't have operational knowledge and that's okay. But if you think of it from a logistical standpoint, the time it takes to accomplish it, the cost that accrues to it, right? A lot of people in business in general, they don't fully do the math. I want to be a millionaire. Well, let's say you sell a bottle of water. How many bottles of water at what cost do you have to sell to be a millionaire? And then, of course, that's a gross versus a net. So if you take that same mentality and you really put it into marketing, it will allow you to make campaigns that not just reach an audience, but are successful in operationally producing them so that it continues to grow.
This is Social Pulse Podcast Hospitality Edition, your essential resource for mastering the unique challenges of social media marketing in the hospitality industry authentically. I'm your host, Mike Alton, and each episode we dive deep into the real issues, from evolving guest expectations to standout social campaigns, sharing insights and strategies you can put to work. Let's get started with today's episode. Welcome back to Social Pulse Podcast Hospitality Edition, where we're digging into the challenges, successes, and the stories of social media community professionals in the industry, just like you. Subscribe to gain valuable insights that you'll be able to apply to your own work and social presence from each and every episode. Now, do you ever feel like your property's Instagram looks like it was designed by a committee with opposing agendas? One post showcases your elegant wedding venue, the next highlights your rowdy rooftop bar, and another features your serene spa retreat. Marketing multiple hospitality experiences under one roof without giving your audience whiplash is one of the industry's greatest challenges, yet it's essential for success in today's competitive landscape. And our guest today has mastered this balancing act. Adir Tal, the marketing mind behind LA Hotspot's Calamigos Guest Ranch and the Victorian, transitioned from world-traveling DJ to hospitality innovator. He's now an expert at telling cohesive brand stories while juggling exclusive membership programs, luxury accommodations, and high-profile events, all without breaking a sweat. Today, he's sharing his strategic storytelling secrets with us. Hey, Adir, welcome to the show.
How are you? Thank you for having me, Mike.
Doing great, thanks. Great to see you. I know you are actually filming from Calamigos Ranch, which is awesome. It looks like a beautiful venue. But let's start with your background. How did your experience as a DJ and a nightclub operator shape your approach to hospitality marketing today?
Yeah, I'll tell you, the whole music industry was a very unique experience for me. Um, I started very young. I started when I was 11 years old, DJing. I started even younger playing instruments, and I did that for a really long time. And, in a nutshell, I got to experience hospitality from the other side. I got to experience it being hosted by some of the biggest, most amazing properties and restaurateurs and nightclub owners. And I saw what worked and what didn't work. And when I had the opportunity to expand with my current business partners, which is the Gerson family, they've owned and operated this actual ranch for almost 100 years. Family owned business, just an incredible family that's really allowed me to grow and become successful in a different venture. I took the leap of faith and I kind of pivoted. I also got married and had a child and realized that, married men and fathers don't don't mesh well with nightlife. Um, so I really wanted to change my life, and I found an opportunity to open a nightclub, which then grew into a restaurant in a different location, then grew into getting involved here at this incredible, extraordinary property here in Malibu. And I kind of did a lot more than just marketing. I kind of really dove headfirst into hospitality. I really wanted to learn everything. I think it does help a lot with marketing when you understand the operational side of it. And yeah, it's kind of been a whirlwind of emotion and success. And I've been really, really honored, and it's a very humbling experience too in hospitality. But the marketing side is a really fun, creative journey that if you're passionate about it and you enjoy it, and of course creativity, it's the possibilities are endless. And I've been really fortunate to have that here at Calamigos, and as well as the Victorian.
Love it. And that connection overlap makes a lot of sense to me. One of my good friends, Samantha Savoy, is a social media agency owner by day, a really fantastic one up in Toronto. And by night, she's a wedding DJ and MC and obviously finding ways to make those two lives interject until she becomes a parent, to your point, then you gotta kinda wanna let one of those points go. But I know you've mentioned that at Calamigos Ranch, you manage 3 distinct pillars of the business: the membership, the guest ranch, and events. Can you walk us through how these different elements kinda coexist under one brand?
Yeah, it's a very tricky marketing navigational aspect when you have 3 completely different industries that you're overseeing as far as the branding, the visual, the assets, all that. The events department here on this property is actually the first big business on the property. The ranch started as an actual ranch with Grant Gerson, Garner's grandfather, Garner and Garrett's grandfather, and it transformed into this incredible event space, and it's one of the largest, if not the largest, event spaces in Southern California. And the way that have to cater to that clientele is very different than the guest ranch, which is the boutique resort side of it, and especially the membership side. Finding a balance is actually surprisingly easier than you would expect here on this property because all of it, there's a lot of continuity between it all. All the brands really feed the other. The events help feed the resort. The resort helps feed the membership and vice versa. So really, at the end of the day, as long as the creative vision and the brand guide is correct, which we've spent a lot of time curating and working through, it's finding a way to find that balance that coexists between them. The beauty of what we do here is we're very family driven. And with that said, all those three pillars of the business feed into that. Whether it's a wedding, it's still a family affair. A corporate event may be the only thing that really kind of strays away from it. We do huge corporate events for really big people, really big companies here. And so, with that said, it's just finding the I guess the common factor, which is we're in nature, we're in Malibu, we're in Southern California, which, other than today, it's a little cloudy, but usually it's a beautiful day and beautiful weather. And finding really what makes it fun for our guests, our people that are hosting events here, and for our members to just really immerse themselves in the beauty and the nature of this family driven property.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous there. That's definitely one of the things that you guys have going for you. I know my friends in Southern California, if it's raining, well, that's it. We're not working today. We can't. And then if it rains more than a couple days, they start to complain because, gosh, they're paying for beautiful Southern California weather. I'm wondering just quickly out of curiosity. So you only have one social profile then for the properties on the major platforms, or how are you kind of structuring your social media presence?
No, so because the businesses, as much as they coexist with each other, they are very particular. So we do have multiple channels for multiple businesses that I've overseen for quite some time. I have a great team here that is, we do a lot more in-house than I think majority companies of our scale do. It kind of goes back to the way the Gersons have kind of taught us all, which is we're really about homegrown talent within this community that we've built here. Whether you started as a busser and now you're a manager, but same thing with our social media team, same thing with our video team. Actually, our video team got married here, had a video team that shot it. We got to know them, and it kind of grew, and we built a beautiful relationship with each other. And now they do all of our, the high end videos, the high budget style. Separate from that, we have the in-house amazing marketing department here that we've really built from the ground up. It's kind of almost a joke that Garner and I have made of like we're basically our own ad agency without having to go out to a third party. But yeah, we have three separate. We have more than three because we have other properties off this property. But here on property, there is the events page, wedding and events is one. We have the membership, and then we have the guest ranch, and then we also have a beach club, which is down the canyon from us. We used to have a separate social media platform for that, but we actually really viewed that as another addition to both membership and the guest ranch. So now it's really just those three main focuses. They've done really well for us. The engagements through the roof. But I will say it's a lot easier marketing something that's just organically beautiful, and people really
Yeah.
want to view it, want to see it. I could not imagine, some of the people on your show that I've listened to that just sound extraordinary. really have to work harder at the marketing than I per se do. I could come up with a great idea, but the place itself, I mean, I'm in one of our resort rooms. It's pretty beautiful. So from a social media standpoint, you get inspired by seeing the wood on the roof, and you decide to pull something all together, whether it's a treatmented video or booking an influencer to stay. Um, but it comes a little easier for us here because we work hard on the product and we produce the correct product. So the rest kind of falls into place. A little bit easier, I would say, for us. Of course, I'm not saying it's an easy job. It's hard to balance. It is a balancing act between the three pillars of our business. But the guest ranch and the membership really are one. At the end of the day, the members get to utilize the guest ranch. I'm sure you've heard in other podcasts the concept of the third space. Before we really even understood what that was, we'd already done it, which is the ability to come. We're not just a coffee shop. We're not just a pool. We're not just a ranch. We're not just a restaurant. We're not just a gym or a spa. Your third space is this home away from home in Malibu that has and emulates all of it. And then, of course, with the ethos of this family ties, where everything is catered towards our kids. Everything's catered towards a luxurious, elegant, upper echelon clientele, but we do it in a very non-pretentious, non-waspy way. And I tell a lot of our members when I do their interviews, I say, listen, we're not for everyone. We are a rustic ranch. We're kind of deemed the surfing cowboys of Malibu. We all grew up out here. We all surf, and I'm wearing cowboy boots today. We're here on a ranch and it's cold, but we're all yeah, we're all local to the area, and we are unique, and a lot of people love it. They love to feel. It's like the place. Not to sound too cheesy, but it's the place that everybody knows your name. And that does again cater back if you go back to the marketing side, which I know this is a marketing podcast. It does allow us to lean into that heavily. Um, and of course, there is hardships when it comes to membership, right? Because it is a very, very private community with some very extraordinary members. And we're very careful, the social media that we do for that, we don't show any faces. Actually, the only face that you will see on it is my daughter and my wife. They're my models. But our members, you don't see their faces unless there's some members that enjoy it and ask for it, then sure. Whereas the guest ranch, same thing. It's a very private place. Going back to what you asked, I guess the biggest hardship is exposing the beauty of an event or a membership event or a resort stay with keeping privacy. Because even events, it's a beautiful monumental event in your life. You're getting married here. You don't want people to see it, nor do we show it. We do a lot of the if people tag us and stuff, we'll share, we'll ask for permission. But there is a fine dance that you have to find where you could show enough to engage with people and to really show them what we are and how well we do it. But on the flip of it, abiding by their privacy, abiding by their wants and needs, and making sure that we don't over show those monumental core memories that we're building.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You are blessed to be living and working in a gorgeous environment from nature to the actual structures that you're showing off. So that's a blessing for sure. But definitely one of the challenges is that privacy. We did an entire episode with Gideon from a country club called Addison Reserve, all about that challenge of having just the most gorgeous events and incredible people and not being able to necessarily talk about at least talk about them all. So for folks, if that's a challenge you're going through, we'll link to that episode in the show notes that you can go back and get some other ideas from Gideon. But I'm wondering, with so many different facets to your marketing, how do you prevent one from cannibalizing attention from another that in a lot of respects should be just as important?
Yeah. The best way I could say it and something that I've always done is you take one hat off, you put the other one. You got to treat each business and each pillar with just as much attention to detail, respect, and really focus in on it. Um, you know, being being in the music industry, I used to write a lot of music for a lot of different artists, and sometimes it was a pop song, EDM song, you know, some other kind of subgenres, and I always reminded myself to take one hat off and put the other on, not just from a energy standpoint or time standpoint, but also from the actual creative standpoint. I need to start my day, let's say, with a L10 meeting about events, right? The next one has to be an F&B meeting. Now, when I'm looking at it from an operational standpoint, I also have to look at it from a creative standpoint. I need to make sure that one hand washes the other, but it doesn't actually reflect poorly on it. So it's difficult, and it's not really, I wish I could give your viewers almost like that, the smoking gun, if you will, of like, this is how you do it. Listen, in my world, I've done a lot of trial and error. I've been fortunate to have an incredible support system here between the Gerson family that allow me to dream. They allow me to try. They allow me to really push the boundaries, and we do it together. I think it's a probably unique situation where I have the ability, because we're not this huge, massive corporate company. Of course, we're a very large company, but I go straight to Garrett if I need to talk about an event, and I can pitch him on an idea. And the beauty of it is between Garrett Gerson, Garner Gerson, their parents. We have somebody that we just brought in named Jason Feltz, who was at Virgin for a long time. He's a branding marketing genius. Uh, it's really cool to go in there with an idea and then hear all these opinions from these different perspectives. And usually the idea will actually not cannibalize. It will actually benefit the whole property. So if we're launching a new menu, then maybe the chef gets inspired to redo the events menu or vice versa. And from a marketing standpoint, again, if you just really define the brand of the property as a whole, it does make it pretty simple to successfully market without cannibalizing it. Nor really with the space that we're in. At the end of the day, it's fun, right? We throw parties for a living. We're hosting people for a living. We're creating memories that will be on your bookshelf for the rest of your life. It all really still sits within this hospitality world that if you just know hospitality, you live it and you believe in it, it kind of just really reflects amongst the marketing. And it does create this unanimous feeling across the three businesses. Now, of course, the Victorian in Santa Monica is a restaurant, nightclub, bar, and we cater to the younger, the kind of the 21-year-olds. That's a very different hat. I got to take this hat off of adult and go into this younger, trendy guy that I'm not really young and trendy anymore, but I work hard at it.
Yep.
I'm doing my best to stay in tune with it, but it is I guess what I could say for everybody out there that has to oversee, hundreds of thousands of viewers in different fields of the business. It's taking one hat off and leaving it at the door and putting the next hat on and giving the creative, however you get to your creativity, however you find that inspiration, just give each one of them just as much attention. And if you can't, and if you get to the point at the end of the day and it's time to discuss a different topic, then I guess the best advice I would give is say, hey, I'm a little bit burnt out from the last three conversations, and then pick it up at the first thing the next morning and make sure that it gets the 100% of your creative brain.
Wow, Adir, that was a fabulous answer, folks. I really recommend that you go back and listen to that segment a couple times. Seriously, there's so many universal business and marketing truths that Adir just kind of packed into like 4 minutes. So do that. Folks, we're talking with Adir Tao about the challenges that are inherent in trying to promote multiple properties or messages across social media. And I've got several more questions, but first, let's make sure you've got the right tool in place to know whether or not your messages are actually landing.
I actually can't say enough great things about the reporting with Agora Pulse. I feel like that is my job security every month. My clients aren't that active on social media, which is why they have me manage their profiles for them. And when they get that report, it verifies that they're making a good investment.
The metrics downloads are so simple and easy to read, and it really helps me show where we are doing things right on social and where we need to improve.
So I think one of the main reasons why we decided to move to Agora Pulse is because it's a more comprehensive, integrated tool for all of our marketing needs. So rather than what we have had to do historically with Sprout, which is use certain parts of that platform that work really well and then supplement it with other outside tools, by moving to Agora Pulse, we were able to keep all of that into one technology platform, which is not only a time saver, but it also makes sure that our analytics and all of our reporting's on point because we're pulling all from the same source.
It's a really great platform for agencies. It makes it really easy to manage, but gives me really, really, really robust information that actually helps me develop better strategies for my clients and better plans of action.
So, dear, I know you've talked about these different properties, the Victorian, Calamigos Ranch. These are legacy properties. You said Calamigos was started. What did you say? 100 years ago? How do you honor a venue like that's history, their legacy, while still trying to position it for contemporary audiences?
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of that has to do with the fact that the family and the legacy is here with us today. Grant Gerson, who started the Calamigos Ranch, is just an incredible human being, and Glenn, his son, who's Garner and Garrett's father, is he's just the salt to the earth. He's my daughter's grandfather. She loves him. It's a lot more enjoyable to work in a setting where they're so involved, they're so here with us, they care so much, and paying homage to them. Everybody that works here, kind of has that same feeling. It's really the best way I could explain it is you come here to work or you come here to stay and you feel something special. There's something here that's not like anywhere else. There's a feeling when you step on this property. Some people call it wellness, some people call it community. There's something that's just here that the Gerson family has done a really good job. And our work culture of people that are here we're all part of it, and we live it. And so, on a marketing standpoint, again, being a rustic ranch that's elegant and beautiful, it's paying homage to them. We have a location on the property called the House Bar. And you walk in there, and there's all these incredible photos on the wall, and it looks almost like you wouldn't understand what they are, and it's actually the family, from the history here on property. And so, just small things like walking by that on your way to a meeting and seeing it, reminding what this was and what it looks like, it does actually help pull inspiration on different ideas moving forward, whether it's aesthetically pleasing idea that you want to change, or maybe get inspired to come up with a new campaign that does pay the homage to the past year. But the property is a unique place; it's a very special place, and it kind of just exudes the history by just stepping foot on it.
I love that, but I particularly love the point you made about work culture because that's very apparent to anybody who goes back and listens to all of your answers through this that the company has a tremendous culture in place that's allowing the creative freedom that we need to be great marketers and just to be successful in a hospitality business. But one of the things you mentioned earlier was how marketing departments, and yours in particular, need to understand operations. Could you share a specific instance where you thought that operational knowledge significantly improved a marketing campaign?
Yeah. For me, it's unique because I didn't grow up or go to school for marketing. I kind of fell into it here, and I was able to be successful in it. For me, because I am an operator, because I'm a partner at the Victorian and a partner here at the membership, when I have an idea to do a marketing campaign, um, and I want to, let's just say, I'll give you an example of one that was very successful. I want to do a wine tasting campaign. Now, operationally, there's a lot that goes behind a wine tasting campaign, right? You have to find somebody that can actually be knowledgeable about the wine. You have to do a setup for it. There is a setup breakdown. There's a labor side to it. Ideas are incredible, and marketing is a very difficult thing to prove ROI, as most of the listeners know if you're doing marketing. But with that said, you decide you want to do this. It's very labor intensive. It's time consuming. And all of a sudden you decide to stack 10 of them, right? But it's a 2 hour window, 10 2 hour windows, one guy doing the tasting, maybe you have two. It's not really possible. So you take your operational brain and you think of an idea in order for it to be the most successful where the company wins, not just the third party marketing agency or social media manager. If you take the idea and you actually go the full circle, and maybe you don't have operational knowledge, and that's okay. But if you think of it from a logistical standpoint, the time it takes to accomplish it, the cost that accrues to it, right? A lot of people in business in general, they don't fully do the math. I want to be a millionaire. Well, let's say you sell a bottle of water. How many bottles of water at what cost do you have to sell to be a millionaire. And then of course that's a gross versus a net. So if you take that same mentality and you really put it into marketing, it will allow you to make campaigns that not just reach an audience, but are successful in operationally producing them so that it continues to grow. And then a lot of what we do is very, we call it guerrilla marketing, but it's organic marketing. It's creating a great, um, you know, ad of something that we could produce to our resort guests or for an event. And if you understand the operations behind it, which listen, operations is it's a very complicated thing, but there's a ton of books about it that you could read and understand what port cost is, what labor cost is. You know, in marketing world, we use the word ROI a lot. But really a return on investment, if the investment is all diluted by the cost of doing the business, then there's really no return. You're just spending the money that could have been profitable. So if you find the balance of a really, really incredible idea that you really want to execute and you believe you can, and then you think about it from a standpoint of, will it affect the business negatively on an economic standpoint? Now, of course, in marketing, there's things that are just investments that you need to do, whether it's a big ad that you're running or a new branding deck, or maybe you decide that you want to change the branding of a space. Of course, those are, marketing costs and you have a marketing bank usually. But at the end of the day, if you can come up with an idea and think about it full circle, right? Ideas first. How do you execute it? What's the team that's involved to it? What's the cost associated with it? And you bring it all together, you'll have a way more successful opportunity, not only with the campaign, but with the company that you're working with, because they'll appreciate the fact that you've taken the opportunity to think about it and make sure that does actually benefit the company.
I can relate so hard to what you're just talking about. A couple years ago, our CMO came to me and he wanted to do a road show where we would literally rent an RV and drive from city to city and host these VIP dinners. And my operational brain was thinking like, wow, we're going to spend hours in this RV doing nothing but driving in between cities. That doesn't seem very practical. So then I came back and said, well, what if we fly into a different city, one per month? And he said, well, okay, yeah, let's do that. So that's what I did, like for all of 2023, a different VIP event in different cities, including LA. And, these were amazing, amazing branding opportunities and lead gen opportunities for the company, getting to meet CMOs of huge, huge organizations and develop relationships. But that was, I think, a great example of what you're just talking about. We're thinking first through about, okay, is that really practical? Is that a good use of our time and investment? But you mentioned ROI, and I want to pull that apart a little bit. Let's talk about that. How are you thinking about ROI, particularly when it comes to social media marketing? You've got all these different facets of the business that you're trying to promote. Are you able to measure any kind of impact on the business from that kind of activity?
Yeah, it's such a marketing is the one of the funnest things that you could do, but it's almost the hardest thing to prove how successful you are at it, right? Most companies um, don't want to invest in marketing until it's too late, right? And it's really difficult. There's a balance to that. There's a balancing act. Now, it in the different pillars of our business, there's definitely substantial barometer to success, inclusive of like using a CRM, right? For the events side, it's very easy to run a campaign. And then when you apply to go on a tour, if we can fit you in, right, we'll play with those schedules for you. But when you apply to join the tour, it asks how you've heard about it, right? So if you run an ad, majority of people say, I saw the Instagram ad or I saw it on Instagram or I've been tagged on Instagram, whatever it is, that's an easy way to prove, right? The ROI. Now, of course, the fruition that takes it from a tour to closing the deal is different. But really your job is to get them here, is to get them on property, to get them excited. Now with the resort, it's difficult because we are a very elegant upper echelon boutique uh, resort, and we call it the guest ranch, obviously. But with that said, we don't bother our clientele and ask them how they heard about us. So it's that one's a very difficult one. Now we've done those campaigns, like I said, the winemaker one, where you do see significantly. The only place we pushed it was Instagram, but it's difficult to monitor. Even when you do it e-blast, right? You could see the back end analytics of how many people click to site, but you don't really know. You could see the number clicked and the number booked, but you don't know if that's really based off of the e-blast or the social media, or maybe there's a convention in town that happened to be when you ran an ad. So it's difficult to prove that. I think the only proof of ROI at the end of the day, the only proof for success is success, right? At the end of the day, it's a call it a pie, right? Everything that goes into it, everything that you do, whether it's operationally, whether it's marketing, whether it's bespoke things on property that make you want to come back. At the end of the day, the only barometer of success is the success, and you could see it and live it and feel it. Now, if you're at a property that is struggling, I would say try harder on marketing, right? I would say try harder at being better at operation. I would say find new creative strategies, use different platforms. Maybe the people you're marketing for is older. Is TikTok really the right way to do it? Probably not. Maybe you want to focus more on Facebook ads because the older demographic is more prone to using that, or even going back old school to actual mail. Um, but I would say the each pillar success from an ROI standpoint when it comes to marketing is very unique to itself. With membership, it's very unique because we're very careful about who joins this community of membership. So it's a bit of a slow roll. And again, very, very lucky, very fortunate. It's not like we went and raised money and we had to just flood membership with members to kind of get a Q1 being somewhat even or successful. We chose to be slow with it. We chose to really let it breathe. And again, it's difficult. I'm sure a lot of people that will hear this will say, "Man, you're just the luckiest guy in the world. You get to be creative and honestly, I am. I am pretty lucky. I'm not gonna lie. I work hard. I worked really hard to get here, but I do have some luck that came into play. Call it luck, call it relationships. But it is unique. And when it comes to the three different pillars, I think the best way I could explain to somebody to report some form of ROI would be at least the starting to prove yourself that you've been capable of succeeding on the economic side is based off campaign, not based off the whole thing. You decide to run a campaign. Let's say take the slowest night of the week for a bar and run a campaign to fill it on a Monday night. You got your ROI, right? If the bar does 5,000, all of a sudden it does 20,000 on a Monday. I think it's pretty evident how it got there. Um, but I think to prove your ROI as a person doing marketing in a big enough company where there's so many elements and so many things feeding the company, my advice, and I've done it, take the worst day of the week, make it the most successful. There's no debating that it was the marketing campaign that did it.
Great advice. Now, I think some of the folks listening might be in similar situations to you where, they didn't go to school for hospitality or hospitality marketing, and they're kind of struggling to figure it out as a new industry or as a new practice. Are there any resources or thought leaders that you've turned to in the hospitality space or marketing space that have kind of helped you navigate some of these challenges?
I'll tell you, all of us are very fortunate at the amount of knowledge that's at our fingertips every day. There's extraordinary books. Danny Meyer's Setting the Table is a great one for anybody that wants to get involved in hospitality. Tillman Fertitta, I think it's called Shut Up and Listen, is an incredible book. Really anybody that I spend majority of my time, I don't listen to music anymore. Maybe I might have been burnt out from that industry, but I listen to audio books or podcasts like this one, by the way. I actually listen to a couple of these that really expanded my mind too. I think the best way I would say is find a podcast that you enjoy like this one. Find a book that you enjoy. I referenced a couple that really are knowledgeable. They'll really explain to you a lot about hospitality. I would go that way first. Social media, learning about it, I don't know, it's hard to tell nowadays what's real, what's not. It's kind of everything out there is a little bit difficult to understand. I know the younger demographic really uses TikTok as their Google search nowadays. I would say there's so much knowledge out there from some really extraordinary people. Those two books, as an example, are great. I like to find books that are not in my industry and learn from them and incorporate into my industry. That are, there's a book actually, Jason Phelps just came out with a book called The Hollywood Virgin. And it has nothing to do with working on marketing and hospitality, but because he was such a big um, brand strategy guy for Virgin, if you just take the insights in it and listen to the book, you actually learn lessons that are kind of extraordinary, but based off people's actual um, what they've done for themselves, what they've accomplished, their experience. So I guess I would say start with podcasts, start with books. And then, meet people. I think everybody in this industry is pretty excited to pay it forward. I've been really lucky to have guys like Jason, like Garner, like Garrett that have been in the industry longer than me that are so willing to divulge information. Ask around. And, I'm not big on LinkedIn personally, but I know a lot of people use that. And I think you find somebody in your local area and grab a coffee and just kind of just chat with each other and see if see if there's something that's stimulating, and you'll both teach each other something.
Oh man, I could not agree more. I'm huge into networking, developing masterminds. So all of you folks listening, look for events near you. If you're in Southern California, gosh, you're next to Social Media Marketing World in San Diego, one of the largest social media marketing conventions. I would absolutely go there if I could, or look for one of the DigimarCon events that are all over the world, really, in cities all over the place. I'll be speaking at a DigimarCon here in St. Louis in a couple months. Those are great opportunities to not only learn, to your point, Adir, but also, gosh, every time you walk into a session, you're going to be sitting next to two people minimum, right? Introduce yourself to these other folks. Find out why they're there, who they work for, what they're interested in. Maybe you'll meet them up for lunch, have some coffee, and make a friend that you can network with and talk to, as we're all trying to struggle with algorithm changes and gosh, should we be on Blue Sky or TikTok, or what's going to happen with TikTok next month? I don't know, but it's often really beneficial to have somebody that you can message and bounce those questions and fears and ideas off of. And Idea, you've been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. For folks who want to reach out and connect with you or the businesses, where should they go?
I would say primarily our Calamigos Instagrams is a great way to start. Calamigos Guest Ranch and Beach Club, Calamigos membership, private membership club, and then of course Calamigos events. Be the best way to kind of just see what we do. Our websites are really informative. We constantly are updating those. We've done a pretty good job with SEO. So if you just look up Calamigos, you'll find us that way too.
Fantastic. Of course, we'll have all the links to the properties, to Adir, all the books that he mentioned, the resources we talked about. We'll have those links in the show notes. But that's all the time we've got for today, friends. Thank you, Adir. Thank you, all of you, for listening. Don't forget to find the Social Pulse Podcast Hospitality Edition on Apple. Drop me a review. Leave me a note. Let me know what you thought about this episode, what else you'd like to see us cover in the future. Until next time, thanks for tuning in to the Social Pulse Podcast Hospitality Edition, hosted by Mike Alton and powered by AgoraPulse, the #1 rated social media management solution. Discover more at agorapulse.com. Enjoyed the episode? Please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. Your feedback drives our content.